Hi, welcome to the BelieveAfrica podcast, where we have conversations that inspire and build minds that revolutionize. I am your host, Cyril Awere, and today we have episode 10, Personal Brand Power. We have with us Paa Kwesi Folson as our guest. He is an entrepreneur and a personal brand consultant. Paa Kwesi is going to share with us his insights and his experience with building a strong personal brand for young Africans. Hi, Paa Kwesi.
Hello, Cyril.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Yes, I'm all the better for having you on the Believe Africa podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. About to talk about this important topic about branding, because our young people need to know about this. We can expect that a lot of young people don't even know about branding. We'll start with you giving us an introduction of yourself, of course, and then what triggered you to go into this personal branding space?
Okay, so thank you, Cyril. First of all, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here.
Yes.
And I'm really happy about what you're doing for Africans and what you're doing for Africa.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I'm Paa Kwesi Folson. I'm an award-winning public speaker. Currently, I'm a visionary entrepreneur, so I'm the director of Revolut Solution Limited.
Yes.
What we do is that we is a human capital development and digital marketing firm. So we offer these two main solutions to organizations and for organizations to help them scale, to help them boost productivity and improve their overall output. So that's what we do on that side as well. Aside that, I'm into personal branding training. So I hold a lot of workshops and seminars all around Ghana, training executives, training people. That's what we do. And then I'm a marketing consultant on the side and a personal development coach. So I feel that I'm a person. I wear many hats, exactly.
Which is a good thing. Too,
yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, so absolutely, that's what I do. I just love people. So I do everything for people, and I believe that it came from a deep sense of calling, finding my purpose, all of that.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's a good message as well for our listeners, is being attentive to what is our purpose, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And allow that to drive us. So how would you define personal branding? Because I said, it's quite possible that some of our listeners don't even know what this topic is about.
Yeah.
What would be your definition of personal branding?
Okay, so I have a personal definition, but just to explain it to any other person who is listening to me who has no idea what personal branding is.
Yes.
I'll say that if you're listening to me and this is your first time hearing about personal branding, you already have a personal brand already. Even if you know what it means or not, you already have that.
Yes.
In other words, personal branding, I love to call it reputational capital. Okay.
Yep.
So I have my personal definitions. This personal branding is projecting your genuine self to create a specific impression of yourself in the minds of others.
Right.
Okay, so personal brand is always about two entities. Even though we use the word personal, personal meaning one person or a specific person, others are included in the equation of personal branding. And that's where a lot of people don't even understand it fundamentally.
Yes.
So yes, that's about personal branding. So it's about how you can control people's impression of you, the perception that they have of you, and leverage on that perception or that impression to create an opportunity for yourself to advance your career, to advance your life in every aspect or facet of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I expect that the personal branding would also be speaking to the kind of values that one embodies, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is a very important part of
critical part of
personal branding. Yeah, I think we will later on we'll talk about what those examples of values could be. But what about the cultural aspects? How do you think our cultural norms can impact one who's trying to create a personal brand?
Absolutely. I was actually even having this conversation with one of my friends the other time, probably like last 2 weeks, and I was saying that human beings are actually products of their environment.
Yes.
Okay, so even though, okay, so I have my own argument for this, right? So I believe that, every human being is almost like an empty memory card. Once you come into the earth, minus the genes and all of that, right?
Yes.
You everything that you know, you are basically taught about it. Okay, so your environment teaches you either by observation or somebody actually putting that into your mind that
head,
this is the way that you're supposed to live life. So that's how everybody does things. So you're basically a product of your environment, a product of your parents' beliefs, a product of all of that. So you find you find out that culture plays a big part in personal branding and how people view it. Okay, because a big part of personal branding is being able to project yourself, and especially in the Ghanaian context, you find people who always want to be modest about every single thing.
That's true.
No matter how big the win is, they may have secured the biggest deal, and then you ask somebody, and he's like, "Oh my God, it was by the grace of God." I know it's by the grace of God, but come on, you know that. Yes, exactly. You know that this and this, you did this, you did that, you did this. You had strategies in place. You put it together, and it worked for you. Okay, so that is the major aspect of the culture here in Ghana. That for me, I think it impedes personal branding in a way, especially with regards to how people view projection, how people want to even put themselves out there so that people can see what is happening in their lives. People are not so keen on controlling a specific perception of themselves because they are just shy naturally here in Ghana. And I just think that's some of the things that impede personal branding from a cultural standpoint.
And I guess it could be quite complex too, isn't it? Because even within Ghana, we have different subcultures, if you like. I guess generally speaking, Ghanaians are, as you say, more humble, reserved. If I compare it to my Nigerian friends, for instance, is on the other side of the spectrum, a lot, bolder and sort of go-getters. But yeah, you're right. I think the environment can play a key role in helping to shape how one perceives themselves. But what do you think are the challenges there then for young people, in relation to the cultures that you mentioned there, and how do they overcome these challenges around having to still be seen to be fitting within a specific cultural norm?
First of all, I think there's not enough education around how people can understand what personal branding is fundamentally, because fundamentally, I think people do not totally understand it. From on all levels, on all the different spectrums. They don't even understand how they can go about it. So how can young people overcome that? First of all, they need to seek for knowledge around these things, okay? Because nowadays personal branding is always being propagated all around one way or another. So people hear these things, but they always ignore them. Okay, so you first of all have to seek out for knowledge. You have to go understand what personal branding is all about and how you can do that. But before the knowledge phase, you have to go through a personal reorientation, especially in terms of your mindset. Okay.
Everything starts from there.
Everything starts from there. If you can control your mentality with intentionality, you can create a specific reality. That is how life works.
I like that sentence, by the way.
That's how life works. Should I say that again?
Please, please do say it again.
If you can control your mentality with intentionality, you can create your specific and desired reality. That is just how life works.
We should capture that.
That, absolutely.
I like that.
So everything is totally dependent on how your mindset, how your mentality is. Those things are the ones that do everything. So first of all, you need to reorient your mindset around personal branding, around all the things that constitutes in amplifying a personal brand. Okay, there's some people who have some inherent beliefs about social media to this day. And all those things stem from our culture. All these things stem from how things are, the cultural fiber or the cultural fabric in our society. So seek for knowledge, properly reorient yourself. How do you do that? You can do that by talking to people, or you could do that by doing your own personal research and your own affirmation about things, because I believe that words are energy. So if somebody, for example, if I meet you, Cyril, say, "Oh, you're looking nice today," of course you're going to smile. If I insult you right now, you can get angry. It's a ball of emotions. So that's how words are. Words are energy.
Absolutely,
so affirmation or words, talking to yourself, will allow you to create the type of mentality you want about anything. So with regards to personal branding,
do work.
absolutely,
Affirmations, But I was thinking, do we cover branding in our education system? Actually,
No,
right? Okay.
not at all.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I
interesting
mean, all
that.
the way to the tertiary level, not at all.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
mm.
not at
which
all.
is unfortunate. I
Yeah.
guess maybe some universities perhaps might do an
Well,
element of it. Do you think?
um, for me, I, you know, um, for me, how I looking at my journey and how I went about everything, I
Yes.
used to skip lectures to
Hmm.
go for events.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did
Oh,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was actually your own
Yes,
initiative, and
exactly.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I felt that everything that I needed to know about life and how to
Mm.
progress,
Yes.
especially faster than my peers, and
Mm.
to be able to get to my dreams and my visions faster,
Yes.
I could not get all of that within an educational system. So
Right.
I was thinking of what are some of the things that I can do that I can learn from other people. So I started going
Mm.
for an event, okay, and I go to an event and I hear about personal branding. I hadn't had personal branding until I was probably, I don't know, probably like 21,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it was new to me, the entire
Yes.
space, personal branding. I mean, sometimes I used to hear brand yourself, but I don't think I ever had that coin,
Yes.
that term being coined together before, personal branding.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
began to look into that more, read, obsess over
Yes.
it, and I
Yes. So
began to
you had to
understand it.
you had to go out of your way, yeah.
Exactly.
And we hear this being spoken actually
Exactly.
that students want to think out of the box and
Yes,
go and look
yes.
for
Exactly.
information
So
themselves. You
that's
see.
why people like us are now partnering with some of these institutions. So
Yes.
over the years, for example, in 2023, I did over 50 keynote sessions.
Right.
Most of them happened to be tertiary institutions. Some of
Mm.
them were corporate institutions or corporate bodies that we did that with.
Mm.
But the tertiary institutions mattered to me because we need young people thinking about the
Sure.
opportunities that
Before
these
they
things
even
brings.
go into
Okay,
the
exactly,
career.
because they are
Yes.
not going to get that with their traditional education, their lectures, all
Mm.
of that. So how can we decide to bring that to them,
Mm.
invite them, get them to sit, listen, get people to show them what this has produced for them, the effect that
Yes.
is having on their lives, and
Right.
then show them how it can tangibly create some value for them. And
Mm.
once we had that, it was good to go. We're just going all around. People are starting to build brands. We have people now starting businesses, building their personal brands, monetizing their personal brands. For me,
Yes. Yeah, that's the
that's yeah,
ultimate, isn't it?
yeah,
When you can
exactly.
monetize from it. Yeah, we did have one of our episodes where we had a young student who
Okay.
is also an entrepreneur. And I learned so much about what's going on within the
The
student
space.
university
Yeah.
space, and how it's very encouraging to see how young people are still exploring entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And you sort of you think to yourself that the reason why they feel compelled to do that is because there's no opportunities that are going to come to them, so they have to find ways of creating their own
Yes.
narrative,
Narrative.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you can resonate with that.
Absolutely.
Being a young person and realizing that you can't just wait for someone to hand you a job on a platter.
Exactly.
Well, it will be very, very difficult because it's all that who you
Exactly.
know anyway. So you have to create something yourself.
Yourself.
And in order to be able to do that, you need to have the right brand, of course.
Yes.
So that you can get the right recognition
Absolutely.
and visibility. So let's talk about this from a professional context. What are the different ways that young Africans can make themselves visible and get the necessary traction, if you
Okay.
like? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me first of all start. Let me take you on a journey.
Oh, I
Because
love journeys.
you
Yeah,
love
Paa Kwesi.
journeys. Okay.
Yes.
So the journey is about branding itself, right?
Mm.
So I just want to say that so that I can lay the foundation for
Yeah.
whatever I was saying next. Okay.
Mm.
So when we look at what branding is, okay, so branding, one thing about me, for people who are watching me, I'm an etymology enthusiast.
Okay.
I love etymology, the
Right.
root of words, origin of words, all of that. I've been studying that since 2018 diligently.
Good.
So
Good.
brand, the word brand comes from a Proto-Germanic word known as brand, Brandr. Okay,
Okay.
had to say that,
Yes.
just spell that out so that people know.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that word actually meant to burn. Okay,
Mm.
now that word was used. This was about in the 14th, 15th century, right?
Okay.
So when that word was used, it was used in relation to livestock.
Oh, in
Okay,
relation to livestock.
so yeah, relation
Was
to
it a
livestock.
Latin word by any chance? Because a
Mm,
lot of English is coming
yes.
from Latin,
Well, the history,
possibly.
the etymology shows that it's from a Proto-Germanic word, like a Norse word.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So yes, so
Mm.
absolutely meant to ban for
Yes.
livestock. Now, how does branding in today's context relate to livestock? You don't,
Mm.
that's the correlation.
As
But
in cows and like.
exactly. But now
Okay.
this is what happened. What they used to do was that they used to inscribe things on the horns of cattle or the
Right.
livestock. So that I can differentiate that, okay, this is Cyril's cow, this is
Right.
Paa Kwesi's cow. Okay.
Ah.
So how can I know that? Because if I look on the horn of the cow or of
Mm.
the cattle, then I can see something inscribed on it. So because
Yes.
it was bent on it, it was literally marked permanently hot with iron on it.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
that's how branding was. So it was all about majorly about differentiation. All right.
Yes.
So then it moved on to be what we know as
It's a
branding today.
broader,
Okay.
yes.
Now a
Okay.
lot of people always, for example, all the young people trying to get traction with their personal brands think that personal branding is all about social media. I mean,
Mm.
social media is a great part of personal branding, but it's
Yes.
not the sole thing. It's not the primary thing. Okay,
Mm.
personal branding. When we're talking about personal branding, even in fact, the the term personal branding, like the term personal branding itself, was
Yes.
coined in the early 90s.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that's way before the social media era.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
know, media has two dispensations. It has we have the mass media era, we have the new media era.
Yeah.
Okay, so branding even existed even in the mass media era, right?
Right.
And now we are even in the new media era with social media and all of that. So if the word personal branding existed before the social media era, what then did it mean for us to now translate it and now be using social media in what's the word, synonymously even
Yes.
with personal branding? The
Yes.
reason is because, as already said, personal branding is about two entities. A lot of
Right.
people don't understand that it's about two entities, because if your personal brand, why are you branding in the first place? You're branding because of your audience, your market. Okay,
Yeah.
all of that works. All right. So you are always trying to ensure that your perception in the mind of people
Yes.
is at a certain level that you want it to be, so that you can be able to leverage a certain opportunity that you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's always about how people perceive you, because if people perceive you wrongly, then your personal brand has failed.
It's not
All your efforts
helping you.
around personal branding has failed. Okay.
Yes.
So now, what does social media do? I always say social media, or media in general, is the amplifier of your
Okay.
personal brand.
Right.
Okay. So first of all, the real work has to be done with your value, finding your values.
I'm so glad you're
Exactly.
pointing that out.
Yes.
Yes.
It has to be done with your
Your
values.
own personal set of
Exactly.
values, right? Yeah.
What value do you bring to the table? What should people know you for?
Yeah.
How are you impacting people? Why are you exactly going on this personal branding journey? How are you going to serve people?
Yes.
Okay, it's
Right.
ultimately about people, the end game. Okay, what value you are bringing. So how can you discover let me put it this way. How can you match whatever you have
Yeah.
with what the market is demanding for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So how can you just decide that, okay, this is what I have? I mean, looking at myself, doing my own SWOT analysis, my personal SWOT analysis. Okay, that's one thing you should do, by the way. If you're
Yes.
watching me and you want to decide to start building a personal brand, do your own SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
Understand the opportunities in the sector that you want. First of all, understand your strengths. Now you've understood your strengths, then you know what your weaknesses are. Now understand the opportunities in the market in relation to your strengths.
Yeah.
Okay, and the possible threats. So now, once you do your personal SWOT analysis, you take an inventory of your skills, your gifts. Okay,
Right.
merge that, try to package that into something that you could always give to somebody in terms of knowledge capital and all of that, right?
Yes.
So you have that now. Now, once you have the value, then social media only becomes the amplifier.
Right. Yes.
Exactly,
Yes.
relevant. Social media just becomes an amplifier of the value. So a lot of people, what they do is that they skip the process, the first part of it. Okay.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether
which is
exactly.
probably typical of our young young
Exactly.
folk, because they're in a hurry to
Exactly.
yes.
Absolutely. So imagine, I mean, let's even look at it in all the different spectrums. Let's look at the people who are even comedians, who make skits, or people who do music, right? all of these people, the reason why they are now posting their music videos or their whatever online is because they know that this is what they are good at. They
Yes.
discover themselves first.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
why is it that you want to do something and you are skipping the process? You are doing everything with a half-hearted approach.
Yes.
You are not really sure about what you have to offer, and then you step onto the scene trying to project something. You're just projecting mediocrity, and you expect to get traction from mediocrity. That doesn't work that way.
Yes. So
Okay.
you're saying that the foundation should be focusing on really understanding what you represent,
100%.
right? Values. But would you agree, Paa Kwesi, that trust, for instance, is quite scarce generally in Ghana? I mean, certainly when I speak to business owners or just even individuals, that's something that they have difficulty. They have difficulty generally finding people that they can trust. You know, say
yes.
I can leave you with my car keys, or I can leave you with my house keys,
Yeah.
right? And I was thinking about that, and it would be good to get your thoughts on it. If trust is something that is really scarce, right, then that should mean that if you had a value which is integrity, you know, honesty, right, and you truly represent that, you know, in everything that you do and say is honest, and you don't fail in that area, and you do this consistently, doesn't that mean that you actually would find that opportunities would rather come to you rather than you go searching for them, right?
Absolutely.
This is what I was thinking, you know.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm engaging with Paa Kwesi, and I've known Paa Kwesi for some time as being someone who's really trustworthy. And then another friend comes up to me and says, you know, I'm looking for someone who fits the profile of Paa Kwesi, but the person has to be really, really trustworthy. So of course I'm going to say, well, I know someone who fits that profile. That would be Paa Kwesi. He's really, really honest. And you can imagine that there will be so many people wanting to be interested in Paa Kwesi because they are all looking for someone who's trustworthy. So in other words, Paa Kwesi doesn't have to go looking for opportunities. The opportunities rather come to him.
Absolutely.
Right? And is that what you think?
Absolutely. That's one of the major benefits. I mean, among all the several other benefits that comes with personal branding is about the credibility and the trust.
Yeah. Okay. And that could be for any it doesn't matter what you do, right? You could be a gardener,
100%.
you could be a maid.
100%.
Yeah. And 100%. A lot of families have this struggle, even with maids, you know.
100%.
With some issues.
100%. And the thing of personal branding is that it even fast tracks the way people have credibility or have trust in you. Okay, so if it almost even fast tracks that process, because now people put a face to something. Imagine you're just showing something, and then imagine you're just promoting something, and then there's no real face to it. People find it more difficult to trust you. That is why, for example, you have Microsoft, you have Bill Gates. Let's take it to the Ghanaian context. I mean, you even had UT Bank, because Kofi Amwabeng, right? Exactly. His face he was doing interviews, going to media, all of that. But yes, exactly what you're saying. So that is the essence of value, of finding your value when it comes to personal branding. Okay, because now you don't have to pursue opportunities. Things now gravitate towards you. So personal branding allows you to develop that gravitational force around you. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Because let me just make this a little bit nerdy right now. Okay.
I can be a bit of a nerd.
That works. So for example, once we're talking about gravitation, Newton has something. So the Newton, or the universal law of gravitation, So, and that law states that, and I quote, that every particle attracts every other particle in the universe with force directly proportional to the product of their masses, and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So when it comes to personal branding, there are two things: mass and distance. Okay, so when I mean mass, what do I mean? I'm talking about the amount of matter in an object. So if I move that into context, I'm talking about what type of value do you have in terms of then the amount of skills, the knowledge, your qualities, your character, everything that is embodiment of the mass in you is what is going to allow you to start developing that gravitational pull around you. So that's the whole thing. That's the essence of value.
And that's physics, right?
Yeah, that's physics, right?
So
That's
you guys,
yeah,
you're the physicians,
I just love to
listeners.
read random stuff.
No,
anything,
that's very good. Yeah, because I'm sure we have some listeners who are very, very good at physics, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe that can correlate. Yeah, but that's a good way to put it. So in other words, branding, as you said, is not just about making yourself visible on social media, but it's how you work on yourself as well, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Which is the
Absolutely.
invisible, perhaps.
Absolutely.
But it still creates that scenario where opportunities come to you.
It's more about there's something that I usually call the status versus value saga.
Yeah.
All right. So in as much as personal branding has to do with the visibility, the traction, you have some people who create this entire image, because you know how personal branding can really amplify your image, especially if you know how to use social media.
Yes.
Some people can amplify their image more than the value that they can deliver.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, maybe.
Exactly. So people now come to you and say, all right, so I mean, given what you do on social media, I trust you on this because you've been able to develop that credibility, that trust. But now I come to you and then I'm not being able to get that type of value that I want from you because you have amplified yourself to the extent that you don't even match that level of value. So that is what I call the status versus value saga. Yeah. So a lot of people get caught up in the status game.
Yes. Yeah. I think so. And yeah. As part of job applications, even, right?
100%.
You're expected to make things like really flamboyant.
Absolutely.
So that you get an opportunity to get an interview because you just so desperately want to get that interview. And you don't bring your authentic self, right? Authenticity is so important, isn't it?
Right,
so you create a particular facade of who you're meant to be.
Exactly.
No, that's a very good point. So being true to yourself, it's really, really critical, isn't it? Yeah.
So just about that. So make sure that your value, abilities set straight. Visibility, we could talk about that.
Yes. Yeah. So what are the different platforms do you think are really good for the visibility? So now we're going into the amplifying part. We recognize that, of course, we have to work on ourselves as individuals.
Absolutely.
But what are for the amplifying part, what are the different platforms that you recommend?
So well, it's really dependent on what your goals are. So if you are into the creative aspect, then I recommend TikTok, I recommend Instagram for you, all the probably Twitter, all those kind of things, right? But if you want to create something, especially with regards to your professional career, then you should try out LinkedIn. Because now LinkedIn is even over 1 billion users now. So
I can attest
to that.
And
the organic reach of LinkedIn right now is superb. And I'm kind of being biased because I do some personal brand training for leaders on how they can build thought leadership on LinkedIn. So I'm kind of being biased, and LinkedIn sends me what do you even call it, a merch. So the other time, so shout out to LinkedIn.
Good. Excellent. That's great.
It was great. I wish I brought my cup here. Send me a cup and all of that. So I drink from that every time. Right now, that's all I drink from. Because
good. Making it visible.
Absolutely.
I mean, well, LinkedIn is the leading platform globally. And as you say, I certainly resonate with that. Most of my professional opportunities have come through LinkedIn.
Same here.
Including when I came to work in Ghana, I was headhunted through LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
But do we have any such platform other than LinkedIn? Do we have any such platforms, professional platforms at all online? I've always wondered whether we have something specifically for
Africans.
Because LinkedIn is very global and it's good, to have that broad. But I've often wondered whether there ought to be something specifically for Africans.
Well, as of now, probably probably we should start something.
Maybe maybe one of our young folk listening now.
We should start something. But what I would say is that, I mean, giving, on social media, you put your bio data and everything on there. So you put Accra, Ghana, all of that. So some way, somehow, the way the algorithms are wired, you get to see a lot more organic content from your geographical location.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what I can say is that just figure out the platform,
Mm.
decide that you want to build, and it's going to at least resonate with most of the people that you hope to reach within your space, so that we
Yes.
can touch more Africans more, and be of benefit to a lot more of them. So
Yeah.
they've created the platform for us. So
Mm.
why not just leverage on all the things that they've done over the years? 'Cause,
Yes.
LinkedIn
It's
was
all
started
there,
by
isn't
Reid
it?
Hoffman in like 2003. So
Yes.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
A lot of years.
Mm.
So
But we're not using it enough, though, right?
absolutely.
And I'm sure there's
LinkedIn
a lot of young people that are not using it.
is so underrated, is
Yeah.
so untapped. The trust me, LinkedIn is I'm saying, because I've, even in my lowest lows, LinkedIn was what saved me.
Yes,
really.
No, I certainly relate to that.
Yeah.
And even employers, African organizations. Do you think that African organizations are present enough on LinkedIn?
No, and
Right.
that's
So that's
because
part of the,
absolutely, that's because they don't understand the platform LinkedIn properly.
Right.
Okay, aside from, you see, a lot of people just think LinkedIn is about jobs. That's the whole thing. LinkedIn is not about jobs. It's another social media platform. Like you have your Twitter, you have your Instagram, you have your TikTok and everything. It's just another platform. However, imagine a platform that has so many opportunities that even when you're just trying to, you're literally just scrolling and watching what's going on in other people's lives, you have opportunities screaming out to you at the same time. Right. So that's basically what LinkedIn 2 is about. Right. But only things that a lot of people get intimidated because of the success stories and all of that. I rather take those success stories and use them as inspiration, use them as fuel to be able to keep myself going.
Yes.
I use that as a networking platform, actually, to also network with people who have done what I believe that I can do.
Yes.
Get in touch with them, understand, get to know how they went about things, so that I could shortcut my learning curve, so that I don't end up taking the long routes every time. The long route is painful. Failures, you go through depression some way, somehow. Right. Okay. So LinkedIn provides you with that platform to do all of that. And at the same time, you don't even have to, a lot of people treat LinkedIn like, oh my God, I have to just wear a suit. I changed the game on LinkedIn, especially when it came to the African scene. You see me holding my little smoothie. I'm somewhere chilling outside. I'll take a picture and I'll put it there. Right. And people love it. Why? Because, and I see that a lot of other people also do the same thing, because people love it, because every other person is trying to project themselves as super corporate, always wearing a suit. Now, once somebody comes with a smoothie on there, like, who's this guy define our platform? And you get all the traction. It's a way. Come, feel free, show us what your life is about aside work, all of that. Just come enjoy the platform. At the same time, you'll be getting a lot of opportunities in the meantime. As a public speaker, I've seen what LinkedIn has done for me, especially building my brand there, amassing a few followers and all of that.
That's very good. But so what do you think, Paa Kwesi, for students who want to be present on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
How do they best present themselves? Because they may feel that they don't have any work yet, so their profile, of course, won't look as good as those who are already in work. Because sometimes they may feel that actually LinkedIn is for the folk that are in work, but not for us who are starting out. But what would be your recommendations on how a student?
Well, glad you asked, because I started LinkedIn as a student, right?
Okay.
And, and even while I was a student, I used that to gain a lot of opportunities, right? The thing is that there are only two things you can find. It's either you're going to find a way, or you're going to find an excuse. Right. So a lot of people are just looking for an excuse. I'm a student. There are so many people working. I have one of my friends. She's currently based in London, and at the time, she was like, oh, she wants to finish her first degree, so that at least she has a degree, and then once she joins LinkedIn, then she'll be able to at least project something there. She finished her first degree. She's now doing her master's. And she just finished her master's, probably, I think it was in December, or September, or something
last
like that.
year.
Last year. And then she's like, oh, she can't join LinkedIn now, even though she has a degree down. She has a master's now. She wants to get a job, work for a couple of years, and then she'll come on LinkedIn. You see, so she keeps
that's a good example of what I'm trying to.
She keeps on procrastinating because she feels that she's not ready. A lot of students, the whole thing is that number one, whatever you know is not too small to be valuable to somebody, right? When I came on LinkedIn as a student, I was sharing tips on leadership. Now, why was I doing that? Because I happened to be a student leader. I happened to be the president of the largest tertiary private business school, which is the Central University Business School Association. I was managing a lot of students, right? And doing all of that, organizing seminars, events, doing all of that and that. So I think that even builds my skill sets for some things I'm doing right now in terms of the workshops and all of that. But
so absolutely. Even if you have some sort of, what you're saying is that you have any kind of responsibility,
anything at all.
School.
Anything at all, responsibility at your school. You went to volunteer for an event, you went to somebody's event, share something, you read something, share something on there, you have ideas, you have a vision about doing something, share something on it. For example, let me give you a practical story. I started building in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, something that I'm very passionate about, 100%, especially in terms of gender, the youth, everything, right? Now, I did a research on a study on it on one of the multinational companies, and then I decided to share a few thoughts about it, right? And then this woman just reached out to me and she's like, oh, she sees that my passion is in this, that. How about I work on a certain project with her on this? And at the time, trust me, I was dead broke. I was dead broke. And we worked on the projects. I got some money, and now I had something to at least to spend on a few girls
who could find you. I was going to ask you what you spent the money on. That's really awesome, right? No, I think you're so right, because you just never know, right, what doors it can open, because there's always people out there looking out for people that have something to give.
Absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is that even if you're not doing something right now, something that you hope to do, somebody can resonate with that future vision that you have. As long as you have a vision, it's going to work for you.
Right. Okay. So encouraging our young people to just
start,
recognize what they have, and then project it out on the social media.
And one thing that it does is that once you project, and simultaneously you'll be forced to keep on building value, because you're projecting something. So if, for example, when I was the most times I read leadership books was when I was talking about leadership. Right. Because now I'm like, okay, I'm talking about leadership. Now the next day I did something called 21 days of leadership on LinkedIn. Right. Now I share one thing about leadership. Everybody's like, wow, this is so amazing. So now I know that people are looking forward to the next stage thing. All right. Now, what do? I'm reading a lot of books. I read a lot of books. I read Tribal Leadership. I read the 21 Laws of.
Oh, so you read 21. A lot.
Exactly.
Do you think our young Africans read?
And no.
Okay. So I'm very glad you mentioned this word read, because I often do wonder if we spend enough time reading.
Absolutely not. And that's the thing. They said if you want to hide something from an African man, put in a book, right? And it's a damn shame. I think we should be reading more, because some way, somehow, I get that fun is great. I know that the entertainment and everything is great, but if you put entertainment and knowledge on a platter, people are going to take entertainment every time, right? And it's all because of I don't want to blame social media entirely, but it's this culture.
It can be a distraction.
Exactly, a distraction. This culture of instant gratification. They just want to, they just want to have fun right now. Forget every other thing, and forgetting that it's the knowledge that you have that can allow you to. Fun can always come. You could always do things with fun, but knowledge is so essential, so integral to our nation, especially looking at where we have to be as Africans. We need more people in the thinking space. We need more people who can cognitively understand fundamental things about our economic infrastructure, how we can move Africa to its next frontier, all of those things. We need people in that space of thinking. And how do we do that? We need people who know how to absorb knowledge, interpret the knowledge, and know how to apply the knowledge. So it's in these three phases, not just about the absorption of the knowledge. Because for me, I always say that knowledge is not power. People say knowledge is power. Great, knowledge is not power.
It's that
exactly. I always liken knowledge to medicine, right? Imagine you had a headache right now, and then you know that, you know how paracetamol works, and you know that, if I take paracetamol, and this is how it's going to operate in my body, all of that. Just the knowledge of that is not going to take the headache away. You have to go get a glass of water, swallow that thing, and it probably is going to work for you.
Good
Right?
analogy, yes. Yeah, we have a reputation for action speaks louder than words, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For talking, but not necessarily taking
And
action.
the only thing that speaks louder than actions is results.
Yes, this is very true, actually. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so loving this conversation, Paa Kwesi. How do we measure? How can young people? What would be the recommendations that you would give for young people to use, enabling them to measure how their personal branding is progressing?
Well, I'll say that is very relative,
Yes.
especially in terms of what the person's vision is. Because I always say this, that the scope of your success is dependent on the scope of your vision. So if your success is small, that means that your vision was small. If your success is big, that means your vision was big, right?
Yes.
So it's like that relation, right?
Right.
So dependent on what your vision is or what you're looking forward to achieve, then you can properly measure it based on your personal on your personal goals and all of that, right? So that's how you can measure it. But on a general spectrum, I think in the present day, one of the easiest way by which people can measure their personal brand, and is I would say it's quite unfortunate, but such as this is the case, right? Is your presence online, right? Once people see that you hold substantial, for example, once you meet somebody who has a lot of followers, or exactly one way or another, you just tend to just have this little notion about them, or just call them a little more respect, even if you don't really care about people and followers and all of that. Just this little tinge of extra respect or extra recognition that you give to the person just because of the image the person created. So for me, I'll just say it's about the type of presence, the influence that you can build on certain things matters, especially in relation to your space and all of that. But it's really dependent on your vision, really dependent on where you want to go to.
Right.
So,
Okay. So
probably
the
we should talk
metrics
about
will be
vision another time.
determined,
Exactly.
depending on what the objective is and what the target is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think young Africans lack vision a lot.
Right.
Yeah, you should not be. There are 4 kinds of people when it comes to having vision in life. We have the first group of people, the first category of people. The first group of people are people who don't have any vision at all. They walk around in life purposeless, clueless, they're visionless, have
That
nothing.
sounds scary.
They have nothing to look forward to. Then we have the second group of people who have a vision. The only problem is that they don't know how to get there. Okay. Then we have the third group of people who have a vision. They know how to get there, but they just don't do it.
Oh yeah, they know how.
They know how to do it. They'll say, "Oh, I can do this to do this, and then I'll get there." But
maybe it's
I'm just lazy. Procrastination, exactly. Then we have the fourth group of people, and that's where you want to be as a person who has the vision, who knows how to get there, and who's doing it. And that's the way you can be able to get to your vision. So I could speak about vision all day. I don't want to get into that. So
likewise, actually, No, I've really enjoyed the conversation with you, Paa Kwesi, and hopefully our listeners have as well. I quite like the bit about focusing on one's individual character, having the right personal values,
absolutely,
as a foundational, and then
I always say that authenticity is the bedrock of personal branding. Yeah, somebody you should be writing notes right now.
That's true, yeah. So in other words, for young people, you don't want to be living your life through someone else's lenses, is what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. And that's quite important. And that's another cultural challenge, isn't it? Because we tend to follow what our role models or whatever are prescribing. So it's been really wonderful, Paa Kwesi. Really enjoyable conversation. I think, as you said, we could go on for a bit longer.
We could talk about all the other things.
But the key nuggets there are really understanding oneself, going through the self-discovery, understanding one's personal values. And then
but one thing, because I've spoken a lot more about the ability, let me talk about the visibility traction side for anybody who just wants a few things. Number one thing that you need to do, as I've already probably even just subtly highlighted during my earlier submissions, is that you have to find out what the market wants. But in other words, find out who your target audience is. That is so critical, right? So you need to find out what their interests are, what they really like, all of that. That is is people always underrate how important that is. They think, oh, it's so generic. We hear that every day. Find your target audience. Do not underplay, do not downplay
Otherwise, you
it.
could be wasting your time.
Exactly,
right?
100%.
Yes.
For me, every time that I make any post on social media, there's a specific person that I have in mind.
Yes.
So
yes. I think it's called personas.
Exactly,
audience
centricity.
yes,
Exactly, personas. Yeah, absolutely. So you need to discover that first. Then you need to find out, where can I find these people?
Yes.
Right. So once you have that down, then you know that, okay, if I can find them on LinkedIn, I go on LinkedIn. Now, what do I do once I go there? Number one thing that you need to do is you need to understand the basic thing, all the features about the platform. A lot of people use Instagram and don't even know that you could do certain things about it, or they use LinkedIn, you don't even know that. A lot of people don't even know you can go live on LinkedIn. You think LinkedIn is just, you could actually go live on LinkedIn. There's something called LinkedIn audio events, much more like Twitter Spaces, where people have events and do all of that. You could actually use that space to do a lot of events, right? So people don't know about that. They don't even know how to go about that. They don't even know that existed, right? So you could do that. Then you need to understand the algorithm. That is so important.
So this is making sure that you're attracting the right.
Exactly. You need to understand how the algorithm works so that you work in line with the algorithm. For example, on LinkedIn, let me give you one practical example. On LinkedIn, one of the things that works a lot, okay, one of the things that happens on LinkedIn is that if you make a post and then you attach the link of the post to your write-up or your caption or whatever you want to call that site, your post is going to somehow, even though sometimes it may get some reach, but that's on very rare occasions. Most of the time, the reach that you could have obtained is going to be dampened a bit. Why? Because a hyperlink is going to inundate the post and make it heavy for the algorithm to push it. And they don't even want people tapping links and leaving their application. They want a lot of active users. They want people using their application. So they don't want people leaving outside of the app. So what you can do is that you can just simply put the link in your comment section. That is an entire game changer. For me, that's how I do things. For example, I put out a few lead magnets out there. I say, okay, I have an ebook, I want you to download that, but I don't put it on the post. You always see me put it in the comment section. It gets a lot of traction. I have hundreds, and my email list has over thousands of people on it.
Brilliant.
So that's how
it does work.
It does work.
So and there's this wonderful thing called YouTube, right? YouTube, which has all these
absolutely. I'm planning on coming on YouTube. I use mostly Instagram and LinkedIn for me right now.
Right.
So what I'll say is this: if you want to build a personal brand, especially moving on social media, pick a specific platform first. Pick one platform first that you want to grow, or probably two. Especially if it's YouTube, then you need an alternative as an actual social media platform, and then your YouTube is also ongoing for you. But pick one social media platform. Make sure that you have a high level of traction there before you decide to try to hop on another platform to ensure that you are also now moving people from this side to this side too as well. So because so many people tend to focus on too many different platforms at the same time, and now they don't know what to do. They're diluted. Exactly. Your energy is distributed across many platforms. How about you focus it on one? That's what I did with LinkedIn. I focused my energy there, dominated that sector, moved on to other things, and now I'm transitioning to Instagram very soon. And then if everything works well, I might start a YouTube. Who knows? I might.
Excellent. No, I'm sure you'll do well at it.
Let's see how it goes.
It's a very inspiring story as well from your side as a young person, a young African who has kind of done quite well in the personal branding space. So for our listeners, hopefully the insights that Paa Kwesi has shared has been of use. We are going to share some more information about this in our social media platforms as well, so you have something to take away. So once again, I'd like to say thank you very much, Paa Kwesi, for joining us on this episode. And we will end it here. So please, continue to look out on our social media platforms. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to you joining us for the next episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels, along with our social media platforms, for any new offerings and engagements with you as listeners. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Thank you.